Okay, well, next to the United Nations, where Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu wrapped up a lengthy address to the General Assembly just a short time ago. His country has been facing international isolation, accusations of war crimes, and growing pressure to end the war in Gaza. But Netanyahu pushed back in his speech, vowing his country must finish the job against Hamas while railing against his critics.
This is not an indictment of Israel. It's an indictment of you. It's an indictment of weak-kneed leaders who appease evil rather than support a nation whose brave soldiers guard you from the barbarians at the gate.
The CBC's Chris Reyes joins me live now from New York with more. So, Chris, what else did we hear from the Israeli Prime Minister?
Yeah, good morning, Hillary. Well, let me start with this. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is one of the most controversial and polarizing leaders to come to this high-level week. So I want to give you as accurate of a representation as what I saw from inside that gallery. I watched the whole speech live, and there was such a stark contrast between the General Assembly floor where member states speak. That was half empty, with some member states walking out of the room as he started his speech. And the reaction from the gallery, so that's the fourth floor overlooking the rostrum where members of the public can sit down. And that was full of supporters of Israel. And at every point that they could, they clapped and gave the Prime Minister a standing ovation. And as you mentioned, it was quite an extensive speech. So I just want to go through some of the themes that he touched on and underscored. I mean, he really began the speech, Hillary, by framing Israel's position as a country under attack. He touted Israel's achievements of devastating Iran's nuclear program. He said, "We removed an existential threat to Israel and the world." That particular line got a very big applause from the fourth floor gallery. And then he also did something that he said was being done at the UN for the first time. And this is very typical of Netanyahu's speeches here at the UN. He's given many of them. He often brings props and tries to treat that rostrum almost as a lecture hall. And he said that his speech was being broadcasted not just to Gaza, but also to the cell phones of all Gazans. And he spoke directly to the hostages. He said that those hostages will never be forgotten. And he said that Israel will continue until they are released. And then, of course, a huge part of his speech was in talking about Hamas. In that broadcast to Gaza, he also said to Hamas, "Lay down your arms, free the hostages now. If you do, you will live. If you don't, Israel will hunt you down." And here's a little bit more of what Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said from that podium.
Half the Houthi leadership in Yemen, gone. Yahya Sinwar in Gaza, gone. Hassan Nasrallah in Lebanon, gone. The Assad regime in Syria, gone. Those militias in Iraq, well, they're still deterred. And their leaders, if they attack Israel, will also be gone. And for Iran's top military commanders and its top atomic bomb scientists, well, they're gone too.
And quite notable, Hillary, in the speech is that Prime Minister Netanyahu did not speak to the humanitarian crisis in Gaza that's been acknowledged by a majority of the member states here at the United Nations, including by Secretary General Antonio Guterres. In fact, Prime Minister Mark Carney said in that statement before recognizing a Palestinian state that what spurred Canada to make that recognition is because of that crisis spiraling out of control. However, Prime Minister Netanyahu did say that his position is that Israel's military is sticking to a ratio of combatants to civilian deaths that is in line with warfare. And again, there was a lot of underscoring in this speech that Israel is a country at war, defending themselves and trying to free the hostages.
And Chris, while all of that has been happening, of course, there have also been a number of nations in recent days, including Canada, who have recognized Palestinian statehood. What did Netanyahu have to say about that?
That's right, Hillary. And on this point, Prime Minister Netanyahu did not mince words in attacking those countries that have recognized the Palestinian state. He quite simply said, you caved, that this is not the kind of move that is conducive to what he feels would bring peace to the region. In fact, towards the end of this speech, he said defeating Hezbollah and defeating Hamas is what would bring peace to the region. Have a listen to what he said about that.
You know what message the leaders who recognize the Palestinian state this week sent to the Palestinians? It's a very clear message. Murdering Jews pays off. Well, I have a message for these leaders. When the most savage terrorists on earth are effusively praising your decision, you didn't do something right. You did something wrong, horribly wrong. Your disgraceful decision will encourage terrorism against Jews and against innocent people everywhere. It will be a mark of shame on all of you.
Now, I have to tell you, Hillary, Prime Minister Netanyahu speaking on this Friday and that historic conference at the UN happening on Monday, recognizing a Palestinian state. I mean, that is as much of a metaphor as you can get to this deep divide between member states here at the United Nations. The Israel-Palestinian conflict is essentially ripping apart the UN. And I said on Monday, because it's what I saw, that recognition meant a lot to the Palestinian delegation as one country after another recognized their homeland. And it was very obvious in today's speech from those in the gallery on the fourth floor that Prime Minister Netanyahu's speech meant a lot to that group. And those two groups, they are not talking to each other.
Well, Chris, we're certainly glad that we have you here to bring us all the details on this. For now, we're going to leave it there, but thank you. The CBC's Chris Reyes in New York for us this morning.